And a warm, hearty, and pleasant good morning to one and all from on location. This is Mark here. We're at the final walkthrough of my mother's house 6 days prior to the closing of it being sold. So we are taking our one last jaunt through it, and our friend Rose is getting ready to collect some more things to try to be able to sell online that did not sell at the estate sale. So needless to say, the sign that's going to be coming up here in a second as soon as I flip it over will now be changing from the realtor's name to status of being sold. And like I say, we are taking our final walk through the territory as we get ready to say goodbye for our last time to be here. I was in this house off and on for the better part of 25 years. We moved here originally on November 22nd of 1972 when it was first built. So obviously we bought this house brand new, and the house down the hill was also being built at the same process there. So the neighborhood is, this part of the neighborhood is still relatively, if you want to call 50 plus, 50 years or so, relatively new to the scenario here. That's basically how we had it working in that department. This is the garage that a fair amount of stuff did get sold from the estate sale, but obviously there's still more things that will need to be gotten rid of in due time. As you can probably see, I know I don't have it zoomed up very close next to my vehicle. Yeah, we had a pretty fair buildup of garbage. It seemed like every single week that we were out here trying to straighten things around and prepare things for the sale and what all. Unfortunately, we weren't able to make it to the sale itself because of the fact that both Shar and I got sick, and we're both fighting flu bug as well as the, in her case, bronchitis as well. Feels like the grass is still a little bit damp here, whatever, for right now. This is the back, and as you can see, we had a deck here. Used to be in the traditional brownish mahogany color, I think, before she had it changed to another color and what all. Sounds like my mother's neighbor is out doing lawn work. Yep. Yeah, okay. Hi, everybody. Excuse me. Sorry there, the dry throat is kicking as usual again. Yep, this was our territory for 52 years roughly. Excuse me. Get every little nook and cranny mode to the side here of what our territory looked like. Like I said, it was my mother's, like I said, from November 22nd, 1972 until her passing on September 24th, 2024. So, we're going to kind of intertwine this scenario for the walkthrough. Bear with me on this. I might get a little winded while we're trying to do this, so bear with me here if I sound like I'm breathing kind of hard. This is what happens when you're trying to do something and you have atrial fibrillation for the last 11 years. A more in-depth look at our garage. The garage, that is. And now we're going to do the unconventional mode and start the basement. Since the ladies are busy upstairs, I will get to that last. I know in 2022 I was here and took a lot of pictures of the house proper. Here's some of her classic furniture that she had left. I imagine that couch is probably from the 50s and 60s timetable, as is that cabinet, that dresser over there. There were some other chairs and a table that were situated in this area when she would used to do her laundry and stuff that was situated there in that corner. I found out that those all got sold in the estate sale. As you can see, she had a lot of books, a very devout reader, and those were the ones that didn't make it in the sale. And like I say, there were so many things that she had a classic dual piece of equipment that was a TV/record player from the, I think, the early to mid 1960s in the midst here, that I guess somebody, I think, just took off our hands instead of actually buying. I'm not really sure if there was any price paid to it or what have you. So I'm not really sure where that mattress came from, if that might have been for the spare bedroom, because there's 3 bedrooms in the house. And as I say here, I'm getting everybody, all the grounds all covered as much as I can here. You'll have to bear with, like I say, if our friend Rose and my wife Shar talk while I'm going through this process. Maybe I could just have him say a quick hello while I'm going through and making my rounds.
I got all Princess Diana in there.
And this is a fair amount of the leftovers of the kitchen slates that did not get sold in the estate sale, but this is what the kitchen looked like. And Shar and I went ahead and decided to take the stove because it's like 10 years younger than the one we've got, and some of the burners were not looking in very good condition anymore for ours. So yep, it's just so hard to believe that, like I say, we spent over 50 years in here. Well, she did anyway. I mean, I spent the better part, like I say, about 25 years doing this. Anyway, as you can see, there was quite a bit of stuff she had here and everything here. So this is about the only real standing regular piece of furniture that's left as far as being able to sit down any place is the kitchen table. All the rest of the main furniture pieces were sold, as you're about to discover here as we go into the living room. Well, I forgot. My wife Shar is sitting with our god dog Lily Mae in my mother's business chair, because that little setup there where that is was kind of my mother's kind of makeshift office, so to speak. As you can see, there was an opening spot where you could put a chair in that spot. And so here's the living room with fireplace that we did use for a while when we first moved in here. But after so many years, she went ahead and turned it into a display setup, and we didn't use the fireplace anymore. So, but yeah, we're counting the blessings, like I say, that the person that's buying the house is going to take it as is, that we won't have to worry about putting or taking anything else out of here on to stress ourselves out anymore. This was her Kohler and Campbell piano that I think we had at our old location on Providence Street before we moved here. So it was at least 50 to 55 years of age, if I'm not mistaken, in that department. And as you can see, Rose is working very hard, trying to narrow down things to get ready to sell online here eventually as we proceed on into the into the hallway area. Excuse me. Here's the bathroom. Matter of fact, we got here for some reason. One of the showings, I guess, inadvertently left the bathroom light on. There was a total of 10 showings of the house over the course of the weekend, and a total of 3 offers that came in before I settled on the one that came in was the best that I took from there. So, excuse me. This is the spare bedroom. At one time, this housed her Elvis collection because she was a big Elvis fan and went to a lot of Elvis stuff in Memphis and in Tupelo over the courses of summertime for the birth or the passing anniversary, and in January for the birthday celebrations and stuff. Everything that was Elvis tied in all got sold. This is for the benefit of her Elvis connection friends. I do have to say I know this is probably where you feel probably the worst about this, that all the Elvis stuff is gone. But Char and I just don't have the space to keep it anywhere. So it was sold in the estate sale. A collector went ahead and bought everything for so much a price and everything, because she had a lot of plates and things that were hanging on the wall. That's why I'm shooting this right now. And but yeah, this was a spare bedroom at one time. I don't remember if we had a bed in here or not, to be honest with you. At least not to my recollection. So, and now we go on and proceed into my mother's bedroom, which is, as you can see, was all red in color. And some of her classic furniture is still in here. Her dresser, the bed head, and another dresser slate here. So, needless to say, it is very strange to be looking at the house and and seeing so much stuff that's no longer here after so many years and everything. But I guess we had one picture that probably should have been taken down, but forgot to do it. But yeah, this was, and actually the dresser was turned in a different angle at one point, because the dresser over there is in the dresser over here was in the place where it was at the whole time, and of course the bed head was in where it was at originally, but the dresser was actually turned the other side of the thing here, blocking the register. So excuse me. And last but certainly not least, my old bedroom. Oh, for pity's sakes. Here's one of my old Miss America t-shirts. I think I got her from back in the 90s. And it looks like this is probably Char's size, I would imagine. She knew the bass singer for the Stamps Quartet that was the backup group for Elvis in the 70s, J.D. Sumner, very well. They were very close friends and things, and that was one of her tie-in slates, was the Elvis connection, and of course the quartet slates. She was involved with the National Quartet Convention and a lot of the Southern Gospel quartets when she was actively doing her hobbies and such. In my instance, back in the late 80s and into the mid 90s was my slate with Miss America. So obviously somebody found this t-shirt. So I'm definitely taking that, since that was my headboard to my bed. And obviously, as you can see here, most everything pretty much sold out of the room in here. But yep, this is what the house was. I mean, obviously some of the stuff that you can see, the decoratives, I think were added later on in the time frame as time progressed and we were here for a few years and such. So, well, everyone, it is a little bit of an emotional timetable for me to be going through this process and having to walk through the house one last time formally before it does get turned over to a new owner next week. That was on the dresser in the bedroom. I think that's your size.
What is it?
I'm thinking it might have been from the year you and I went. One of the years you and I went, I believe.
Oh.
It was, I could say it was on.
Medium.
Oh, it's medium?
Yeah.
Well, we could still hang on to it for Miss America's sentiment modes, because that was my tie-in. Don't forget. Well, I'm still going to hang on to it anyway, because it was there, and it was part of my memory mode from me to her. So anyway, but yep. Okay, well, the temperature in here is running at 60 at the present time, even though we've had the thermostat set to 55 over the winter months to try to keep everything within reasonable level of temperature here. So with that, let me go back to being me on the camera again. There you go. That was the entire house one last time on a walkthrough. So kind of that's my way of saying goodbye for the last time to the new person that moves in and takes over. May everything go well, and may everything still be well intact throughout the years and time frames that you're here. God bless always, everyone. This is Mark. We'll talk at you later. Bye-bye.